So in Sony's pursuit of reaching its lofty PlayStation 5 sales targets, it somehow managed to plunge $10 billion down the drain. Welcome back to another Foxy Games UK news video. If you like the work I do here, go ahead, like, subscribe, hit notification, and follow Foxy Games UK via X, formerly Twitter, at FoxyGames_UK for more informative gaming news, rumor, opinion, and gameplay. All links are available in this video's description. So let's head over, shall we, to CNBC.com, where the headline reads, Sony plunged $10 billion after its PS5 sales cut, but a bigger issue is its near decade-low games margin. This one's written by and posted by Arjun Kapil. So around 10 billion of value was wiped off Sony's stock this week after it cut sales forecasts for its flagship PlayStation 5 console for the fiscal year. But analysts who already thought Sony's PS5 target was far too lofty told CNBC a bigger issue for the Japanese tech giant is the company's declining margins in its key gaming business. Analysts are questioning whether Sony's gaming margin is not higher despite higher margin products like digital sales of games and its PlayStation Plus subscription service. So yeah, 10 billion of value wiped off Sony's stock last week after the Japanese tech giant cut its sales forecast for its flagship PS5 console for the fiscal year. And Sony this week announced it now expects to sell 21 million units of its PS5 in the fiscal year ending in March, compared with a previous forecast of around 25 million units. The company's shares fell off after the announcement, with around 10 billion of value wiped off the stock since the forecast cut, according to a CNBC calculation used by FactSet data. But analysts were watching another key metric, the operating margin in the gaming business, which came in just under 6% for December's quarter. According to a CNBC calculation by contrast, Sony's operating margin was more than 9% in the December quarter of 2022. Here's a quote. The shipment forecast cut for PS5 is not what is disappointing. What is disappointing is the low level of operating margin, Atul Goyal, that's the equity analyst at Jefferies, said in a note to clients on Wednesday. He added that prior to the January to March quarter of 2022, margins at the gaming unit were around 12 to 13% in previous 4 years. That's in the previous 4 years. Now, the latest quarter's single-digit margin for Sony is present despite various tailwinds that should have driven up the margin towards 20%. Adding that situation is extremely disappointing, Goyal said. Now, these tailwinds include the sales of its first-party games, which are increasingly in the form of digital downloads, in addition to its high-margin PlayStation Plus subscription service, which commands around 50% margin, according to Goyal. Here's a quote. Their revenue on digital sales, add-on content, digital downloads are at all-time highs, and yet their margins are at decade lows. This is just not acceptable. Goyal qualified that the current margin for Sony's gaming business is almost near decade low. The analyst questioned how, with all these higher margin products, the gaming division's operating margin has remained so depressed. Can anyone say Jim Ryan? Okay, so Sir Kan Toto, CEO and founder of Tokyo-based games consultancy Kantan Games, said he believed hardware production costs have actually come down since the PlayStation 5 is more than 3 years old, and Sony would have better economies of scale by this time. Toto said that part of the reason why margins are being squeezed more recently is that the software production costs have been rising. For instance, Spider-Man 2, which came out in 2023 and is produced by Sony-owned Insomniac Games, cost around $300 million to make, according to gaming website Kotaku, citing an internal presentation that was leaked after a ransomware group hacked the company. Here's a quote. These budgets seem to have a significant impact on their gaming margin over time, Toto said. And it looks like, friend of the channel, Sean Layden, ex-CEO and president of PlayStation, Sony Interactive Entertainment, said that this was not a sustainable model. Budgets are far too high, it cannot continue, and my goodness, was the man right. So yeah, Sony and Insomniac Group did not immediately respond to CNBC's request for comment, as they don't really comment on this type of thing. It's not unusual. 5-6 years ago, Sean Layden said that they cannot go on this way. These AAA budgets are rising astronomically and something has to give. And indeed, you can see the results now. Games are great, but if they're not selling according to the budgets that are allocated to these games, I know games are $70, but unfortunately, even that is not enough to rake in the revenue required to keep this as a sustainable business. Now, I love AAA games. I love Sony first party, Xbox first party, Nintendo first party. But I think Nintendo, as I've alluded to in previous videos, have really struck a really good balance in budget versus revenue incoming. Yet they sell bucket loads and they are fantastically fun to play. So maybe we should look back at this, the way we make games, these developers, these publishers, how they make games, and maybe streamline the whole business a bit more, because we need a shake-up in this industry, let me tell you. So moving on, and I'd just like to bring your attention. As you know, quite a few of the videos that we've had recently have been about, fanboys and jumping from one console to the other, scaremongery, alarmists saying Xbox is dead, PlayStation are in trouble. Yeah. First of all, let me tell you, if you are a platform versus platform, game versus game kind of groupie or individual, don't follow me. Don't follow this channel. Don't follow me on X. I don't appreciate you and I don't want you. I'm only interested in gamers. Gamers. And, I've noticed a bunch of these posts all over X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. A bunch of these once upon a time so-called X bots trashed Sony Interactive games as boring, cinematic, one and done movie games. They have now joined the PlayStation community in light of, the foolishness that transpired over the last week. They've joined the PlayStation community and have ditched Xbox and are already trashing Xbox platforms and its games. They have literally swapped one fanatical obsession for another. You cannot make this shit up. I'm sorry for the language there, but it's thoroughly frustrating. Are they lunatics? Is there a mental illness going on here? And I've also noticed some of them tweeting The Last of Us. Talk about Johnny come latelys. They're playing The Last of Us Part 1 remastered and games they despised before, and saying that it's their first time playing and how they love the game and Xbox can never produce stuff like this. But these are the same people that trashed the games, the Sony games, walking simulators, movies, and now they just look ridiculous. They look ridiculous because you can tell they never played those games before. Johnny come latelys, jumping on bandwagons. Do you really want these people in the PlayStation community taking their bad habits from the Xbox community? The fanatical fanboys are now moving over to PlayStation, and now the reverse trend is happening. Even Gaz at Septic_Source, Gaz has said, and I reposted it because it nails what I'm saying here. Xbox have swiftly turned into the very thing they hated PlayStation fanboys for, but instead they carry this victim complex to boot. Absolutely. And also a massive shout out to Dirk Griggity. I watched his video, Xbox Civil War. Great video, real talk. Look, what did Chris Brown say? These hoes ain't loyal. It's true, they're not loyal. Go watch that video, check it out. If you're paying attention, you've got people going back and forth over how many beyond the 4 earmarked Xbox games will go to rival platforms. Many of these people have said Xbox games are trash. I'm talking about PlayStation gamers here. Many of them trashed Xbox games. Now they can't wait to see how many more games come over. Just take your 0.1% dignity and low single-digit IQs and leave the game community. Just get out. Get out. We don't want you. Real gamers don't want you. You know what I mean? We don't want you. And I'm so glad I'm no longer like you people. I'm so glad I'm platform agnostic. Love all the games. Don't care about platforms. Don't care. And let's talk about these journalists. RGT85, another great video where he posted a video about journalists who made all these claims about Xbox, scaremongering, and it ended up just being mass hysteria, fear-mongering over nothing. But is there any accountability? None whatsoever. Games journalism needs an enema. And I second that. And I would add, the media they'll make their money off the lie, and then they'll make even more money off their apology tours or their denial of an apology tour. Most of mainstream media is filthy scum. They're not good for the industry, they only care about clicks. Never trust media outlets. They claim to serve public interest but only serve themselves. And me personally, I'd rather die broke than follow their blueprint. And you're seeing a lot of the mainstream media's videos claiming that everyone was wrong about Xbox. No, not everyone was wrong about Xbox. The reality is the media stirred this whole thing up, got its clicks, made its money, and now the media wants to tarnish us all. Incredibly disingenuous. And that goes out to those Xbox influencers who were also part of this media wave of nonsense. Absolutely, and you've got to admire a man, takes after my own heart, RGT85. You've got to admire a man who doesn't give a flying tortoise if people unfollow, unsub, and is willing to lose friends in pursuit of relaying truth. That's always been my way. I do not give a flying frog either. And, at the end of the day, do not follow these people. The media, regular Joeys, and just about anyone can create detrimental rumors that can have real world consequences. And there's absolutely zero accountability. In fact, people defend these faux journalists and these no-name clowns, even when they're proven to be incorrect or frauds. And whatever happened to that premature console ejaculator who posted receipts of his traded in Xbox Series X and all its games over a rumor that turned out to be a complete dud, completely false? Kids these days, huh? Anyway, I think that's all we've got for you today. But if you're interested in what those 4 games are coming from the Xbox platform, they're not spectacular games. It's not your Gears. It's not your Starfields. It's not any big Forza games. It's Grounded, Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush, and Sea of Thieves. I'm not knocking these games, but hardly the mass exodus that people were proclaiming. Though, what say you? Let's continue the discussion cautiously in the comments, as that brings us to the end of the video. And believe me, if you are one of these groupie fanboys, just unfollow, unsub. I don't need you. I don't want you. But for everyone else, just like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Comment regularly on videos, and you can help Foxy Games UK reach more gamers, so feel free to share the video. You may also want to consider supporting Foxy Games UK via Patreon, because, well, we are family now. So link in the description, but that concludes our time together today. Until next time, consumers first, please purchase boxed games, and last but not least, play games, not corporations.